credentialed by IC, and the founder of Ignite, the Spark School of Transformation. She's also the author of the highly regarded book, Ignite Your Inner Spark. With over 20 years in the field of personal transformation, 1,000 plus hours of coaching, and having worked with more than 2,500 clients, Alpa has touched countless lives through her deep, intuitive, and powerful coaching approach. She has led over 120 workshops and group programs and is known for creating profound shifts in her clients' inner landscapes. Her work focuses on energy mastery, deep inner shifts, and helping people redecorate their inner worlds so they can live large, fulfilled lives in the outer world. What makes her work especially meaningful today is her commitment to empowering women entrepreneurs to create their own wealth, and her belief that the transformation we seek in others, especially in our children, begins within ourselves. So get ready to explore a powerful lens and understand your shadows and use that information to create a better parenting relationship with your child. Please join me in welcoming the incredible, inspiring, and deeply transformative Alpa Kapadia.
Thank you, Roshni. That is by far one of the most beautiful introductions. And it came straight from the heart. Thank you so much. I value that so much.
Thank you.
So I've not really done a session for parents and shadow mastery. I don't think I've ever done it. But when Vidya reached out and said we have a parenting community, I actually created something because shadows, it's a little vague term for now, but they affect all areas of our life. They are literally like a software program on our computer. It is unconscious, unaware, and it is running the show. So the effort today is to bring a little more awareness to our space of parenting. Is that something you would like to dive into? Yeah. So I've designed this session to be interactive. I've designed this session to be simple, practical, and example oriented. And I have not gotten into the concept of shadow and all that. That is not our space today. Our space today is just to see how we are showing up as a parent. Now let's all get a little dive into the deep sea a little bit. And tell me, how many of us are parents here? Can I have a show of hands? How many of us are parents? Okay. Okay. Lovely. Okay, so now I'm inviting you to rate yourself as a parent on a scale of 1 to 10 and put that in the comments. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rate your own parenting? And it's okay. I am doing this session, but I am nowhere close to a 10. So let me be honest out there. I do my best, but the result is not really a 10 at all. Yeah, 6, 7, 8. I think I would also by today's performance. I want 10. Nice one, Sriram. 7, 8. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Okay, so this sounds good. We rate ourselves on a scale of 7, 8, 5. That's good. We all do our best. You know, I was telling Roshni before we entered that even to thrive, we need a test. But when we become parents, no one takes any test. There is no body which tells us, yes, you are capable of being a parent. Somehow we do our best and somehow it turns out it's nature and nurture and children grow up. But today the effort is how can we be more aware as we grow up for our children. One thing is that I love shadow mastery, and my own personal parenting journey has been very interesting. I grew up in a joint family, which was a lot of drama. And this is important. The reason I'm doing this also and the why it matters. My mom was very hassled with 12 people, who were living in the house. We always had guests. She was really stretched thin. And as a parent, though she was physically very available, emotionally she was not very available, and she was quite.
Yeah,
Did you lose me? Okay. So she was quite a screamer, because she was just so frustrated with all that was happening with her. And I grew up like that. And when I became a parent, unconsciously, I thought parenting to yahi hai. Even though somewhere in my youth, I had vowed that I am never going to be a parent like that. But when I became a parent, somehow it is so coded in you, your experience as a child, that you land up becoming a parent like that. And when I had my son first, I think I became a parent like that. And one day what happened is, I think he dropped something and I looked at him, and before I could say anything, I saw him like this. And in that moment, I realized that knowingly, unknowingly, I have become a screamer. That my child was so afraid of how I was going to react. And that really showed me the mirror. That is the day I started working on my parenting, because I did not want to repeat. I didn't want to be the best parent I could. Let me just not say repeat history or anything like that, because then I found the work of Miss Dr. Shafali Sabari with the Awakened Family and the Conscious Parent. And I started understanding that actually the way I am showing up is affecting the way my child is behaving. And my child is actually showing me the mirror of all my unhealed wounds. So I cannot blame him for being who he is. I have to really look inside. So I really did some self-work. I became a coach at the same time. I had some conversations with my mentor, Peter Redding. And something shifted in me in the way I showed up with my son. And I think around the age of 6, things started shifting. The funny part is that by the age of 10, my relationship had completely changed. I had another child also by that time, and she, of course, benefited from all the work I did. But when my son was 10, he actually replayed to me this shift in his own words. So he told me that a few years ago, you and me were not friends. Then what? He said, I sent you a I sent you a friend request after some time, and then you accepted it. In his own words, he actually told me the shift in me that he perceived at 10. And at 4 years later, I realized कि okay, कुछ तो मैंने अच्छा किया था तभी. Because that it came full circle. But I was so unconscious before that, and I have seen that journey, and now the relationship with my children is so different. And of course, with all the work that I do with myself, the first beneficiaries is your family. So I've been on the other side, and I'm bringing the shadow mastery perspective to you with validation that it has worked. So I just wanted to share that with you. I know it's a little vulnerable, but it's important to share our stories. Now, no one is perfect here, really. So I just want to start with that. I want to check with any of you if you have had an experience like that with your parenting. Or you can share what is the experience. Okay, what is the one biggest challenge you have had as a parent? Can you tell me one big challenge you had? Yes, Goldie, you want to say something?
Yeah, hi everyone. It's really nice to be here. I got in a bit late, but it's really good to be here. Well, I just caught you in the middle of your story, Alpa, but I just want to say that I'm the mother of a 20-year-old, but I've been a coach for 10 years, and I'm a teenagers coach. So my journey with my son has been instrumental in both self-discovery and relationship building with him. We've recently, and we are still undergoing some tricky moments, because I think now I am recognizing that I need to be seeing him as an adult. He's no longer a teenager, literally, because he turned 20 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And this has been brewing for a while. But that's something I think really just cements your own journey as a coach, because you have to be constantly self-discovering, and it's been really tough. Obviously, I've had to get coached on this as well, which has been quite funny that I'm getting coached for my relationship with my son. But that just goes to show that you cannot coach your own child ever, and I've never done it. But I definitely need to get coached to keep maintaining those dynamics alive, with him. And we just recently did a trip together where I noticed how, when you say shadowing and the mastery, and that's why I'm here, I think I did a little bit of that, if that's what I'm understanding it. I was giving him the perspective of a story from another person's view, which was my way of making him see what I wanted to make him see. But was not putting him in the spotlight or in the focus of the conversation. We were talking about a third person and the experience of that person. And then he said something very interesting. He said, I think I want to take more trips like this with you. And this is coming from a 20-year-old, which I have to say is a huge compliment. So
Oh, that's a huge one. It's really a huge one for your son to say that. That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Goldie. Where are you joining us from?
Barcelona, Spain.
Welcome. Very nice to welcome.
Thank you.
Yes, Manmeet, you want to share something? Please do. And the others
Hi,
also,
Alpa.
please feel free to add in the comments what is your biggest parenting challenge. Yes, please go ahead, Manmeet.
Always a joy to be in your session, Alpa. I'm still in my night suit, just tidied up my hair to be here. And I so resonate with Goldie, what she's saying that, one good thing I have done in my parenting is that I've constantly checked myself rather than externalizing the issue. And to cut the long story short, the biggest challenge, perhaps, I would say, is that ever since I'm becoming more and more akin to coaching, I want to give that space to my kids, where they feel I'm not being judgmental and I'm just there for them. I still feel that gap is there. And the second thing would be I want to have fun with them. I have so much of fun with my friends. So what's that not happening between me and my children? I want to be silly with them. I want them to be silly. I want to giggle with them and do all nonsense kind of a stuff. So I'm not even talking about the serious sort of a communication here. So that would probably be my desire and aspiration as a parent. And yes, like Goldie, I'm constantly checking myself and working on myself.
Thank you for sharing that. And I'll share something about this as we go along. But thank you. I'm so happy you shared that. Yes, Vivek, do share. And I'm also seeing the other answers which are coming in the chat box. Go ahead, Vivek.
Yeah. So I wanted to share a particular incident, which I think is a big learning opportunity for me. It's also, I think, the area which was most helpful for me and also the area I continue to work. So anyway, I'll jump into it. So what happened was this was, I think, in year something ago. So my older boy, I think he's 10 or 11 at the time, there's this particular candy which he really, really likes. Okay. So he eats too much of it. So I told him, hey, Kabir, I'm going to get this for you. Now I'm putting this away and I'm telling you where I'm putting it, but I don't want you to take it on your own. If you want any, ask me. Okay. And then I went into the room and I was like working on something. Then afterwards, he had some of his friends come over to play. And now when I came out, I noticed that all these kids were happily enjoying these gummy ones. Okay. So now I was very, very angry. Like at that time, I had this need for kind of connection and trust with him, and I feel it was completely breached. So I said, Kabir, come here. And then what I said is, go bring that thing back. So he did. And then I say, look, if you had asked me, then I would have happily taken this and given it to you and allowed you to share it with all of your friends. But now, because you did this without asking me to teach you a lesson, I'm going to put this away, and now you will not have access to this for the next 2 days. Okay. So I thought I was like being fair and making a point, etc. And then I happened to step out. And then what happened was my wife called me. She's like, dude, what have you done? Kabil is like wailing. I was like, what? And so then afterwards, when I came back, I realized that. So then when I was deconstructing the situation, right, one thing which has helped me tremendously in my parenting practice, so to speak, is MVC. So what happened over here was when I had a discussion with him, I was like, hey, Kabir, let's just replay the situation back. So from my point of view, I was like, hey, I had this need for kind of connection to allow him to kind of grow up and exercise restraint, etc., need for trust, and all of that was breached. So I was calling away majorly based on my needs. And then I assume that he, for example, would have learned his lesson and be more responsible next time. But what I learned from him, I was telling him when I asked him to express what were his feelings and needs, I think the most present feeling for him was the sense of shame. He felt like, hey, he had all these friends and he wanted to just have a good time with them. And he thought, oh, why go deal with dad and now have this conversation? Surely there's no big deal. So I'll just go get that candy and share it with them. So that was the thing which was most present for him, which is he thought he was going to be this cool kid in front of all of his friends. And because of what I'd done, he felt the strong sense of shame, and that's what led him to cry. So later on, when we kind of deconstructed this, and I first of all told him that I understand how he felt, and I expressed to him what I was feeling and needing, he was actually able to connect with the situation a lot better. And then we had a little hug and we kind of resolved that situation. But I just wanted to share that. And in general, in parenting, I think the whole don't listen to what they say because it reflects what they think, but try to connect with what they feel because it reflects what they need has been very helpful for me. That's what I wanted
Wow.
to share. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Vivek. I think in that one example, you covered so many different things which we will be covering today. And hats off to you. I think as coaches, another thing we do is we really psychoanalyze everything. Sometimes a little bit much. In the journey of being
Agree.
a perfect parent, I think we really go the extra mile. And that's also what Manmeet was sharing, right? That you're so conscious of checking yourself all the time, just forget to loosen up and say, okay, I made a mistake and what to do now. So yesterday I said something really judgmental about somebody, and my son looked at me and I said, I know I'm being very judgmental right now. Yes, very judgmental. I don't really want to talk to you. And he went. But I was open. I said, yeah, that was a very judgmental thing to say. I shouldn't have said it. And he's 15, so he understands it. So it's okay to make a mistake and say, ठीक है, coach हो तो क्या हुआ? Made a mistake, so what? So just being present to that. Thank you for sharing that. There are lots of answers coming here also. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to just dive a little bit into what I have to share with you, and then we can continue the conversation a little further. Okay. Are you able to see
Alpa,
my...
let me know if you need any help. Alpa, let me know if you need any help in reading the messages or something like that. Just let us know.
Yes, please do keep an eye on the chat box and let me know if there's something. That
Yes.
would be great, Vidya. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so what are we doing? Why we are here? We share a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit, actually, I'm not actually getting so much into shadow mastery, but just little jhaki I'll give you. We look at the parenting lens. How do we recognize our behavioral shadows in ourselves and in our children? Moving from this reactivity to compassion and the conscious parenting process. So I'm also going to help you to take away something at the end of the session, that today on your journey, what are the next 2-3 steps you can take to be more present? Yeah, so that's what we're going to cover today. This is just a little bit about me. This is a book I've written, and it's doing very well, touch wood. It's been received very well. It's receiving a lot of love, I think, more than anything. So I'd invite you to pick it up if you'd like. And yeah, just some awards and all that. Okay. So the key is of what we're discussing today is like children are like our mirrors, so they don't really absorb what we are saying, but they're absorbing who we are. So I've seen a lot of parents who say, let me give up my dreams for my child. Let me make sure my child is successful. And I think even I have been told many times that you are going to follow your dreams at the cost of your children's success. And I believe that children do as you do. And if you are going to give up your dreams, they are going to grow up to be adults who give up their dreams. So I feel we should cut that cycle somewhere and just live our own lives, man. So I feel that balance of following who you are and living up to your fullest potential is also important. In fact, today on LinkedIn, I've written a post about, how we talk about how proud we are of our kids. But have we really flipped the question and asked, are our kids proud of us? And if they saw us, the way we are living our life, the way we are setting boundaries, the way we are living boldly, would they be proud of us? And I'll share that with Vidya. Maybe she can share the link with you, on the group. Really wonderful questions to ask yourself, that are you really going on your path? And when your kids grow up, will they look back and see, I'm so glad to see the way my parents lived their life. They really lived it up. And that will give them the permission in their own life to live that way too. I've seen a lot of people are not able to really live their full lives until their parents are there. There is a sense of guilt that, oh, if my parents are unhappy, who am I to be happy? And the cycle and the generational cycle continues. So I feel we need to break that. Let's do something fun. So we're doing something called the parenting bingo. So I'm going to invite you to annotate on the screen and put a point or a dot or whatever on any of these that you have done in your life. Okay. So have you overreacted for minor mistakes? Have you imposed your dreams on your child? Have you had inconsistent boundaries? Kabhi haan, kabhi na, not sure. Have you been a helicopter parent? Have you needed to be the good parent, and win the popularity contest? Have you projected your own wounds on the child? Have you not said no with conviction? Have you relied on your child emotionally? Are you overprotective? Are you only disciplining and not having fun? Just go ahead, tick all that's applicable. Do you not ask for support just because you want to be the one doing everything? That's also a kind of sabotage. This is fun. Okay. Hope everyone has found the annotate button. Okay. So we're having a lot of them are not able to say no and blaming the child for our reactions. You made me angry. You have become angry, but you have said you made me angry. I mean, you chose. Okay. Go ahead. Let's take a minute or two and really overreacting to minor misbehavior. Yeah. I think there's something coming in on the comments. If there's something that you let me know, Vidya?
Yeah, there are a few comments before this. Do you want me to read those comments as well and then go ahead? Or
Yeah, go ahead.
okay, so Roshni has said when you were asking the question, to not lose my temper when I'm tired, exhausted. This is my challenge. I have written not to be a parent worrying all the time. Sriram has shared challenges getting my daughter to meet agreements that we have reached sometime. All agreements which we make in moments of comfort for her vanish when the agreement needs to be implemented. And Nitya has written difficult to convince and make him understand our viewpoint. And I think Pooja wants to know, what does helicopter parenting mean?
Helicopter parenting basically means that the minute your child needs something, you swoop in and you do it for the child. You're immediately there to help. So you're just hovering around them, like a helicopter, tick, 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 tick. They need help. Let me help you out. So that's what helicopter parenting is. And Manmeet is not able to annotate. I hope you found it, Manmeet. It's a little pen mark on the screen. Okay, lovely.
It's on the left side. Did you get it, Manmeet?
Yeah. Okay. So we've got quite a few responses and I think it's quite nice. So sabotaging support has got no takers, and not letting your child fail and being overprotective has also got no takers. Okay, very nice. So we have lesser saboteur parents here. Okay, lovely. So we're going to move on. I need to clear these annotations. Okay, super. So, all this we have done, and it's okay. It's not really about blame. It's really about us becoming more aware and mastering this. So that's going to be our journey today, and it's okay, whatever else happened. This is a diagram again from my book, that why are we triggered in the first place? So we snap or we get angry or behave in a way that we're not happy about because there is something which is bothering us. If you go to a saint who's sitting quietly in the woods meditating, and you go and say there's a lot of traffic in the city, he'll look at you and say, okay, so what? He'll not get disturbed. So the idea behind this diagram is that we have compromised on our healthy, WHOLE, whole selves over the years. We were born whole. And then as we started facing some criticism, some rejection, some feedback, some heartbreak, some disappointment, it chipped away little by little at our self-esteem. So maybe someone told you, little fat, little dark, too tall, too thin, too black, too white, too bold, too introverted, something or the other, or you didn't get picked for something, you got dumped. Little by little, your self-esteem kind of gets hit. And what we can't see this. So in this diagram, you can see it, but if you actually see your own emotional body, there is a lot of hurt already gathered. All the experiences you have had are living in your body, and already it has chipped you. In that state, for anybody or anything to trigger you is very easy. So if I need to bait you, I just need to tell you exactly one word which I know will set you off and you will be mad, right? But the idea is that these fishing hooks are going to come. People are going to behave like that in a way that is not what you want. So the idea is not to avoid the fishing hooks. The idea is for you to get whole and for you to heal. So your children are going to continue to behave the way until you get conscious. But the idea is for you to first get whole and say, this is who I am. Be at peace with yourself. Heal your triggers. Address your shadows. And when you come to that space of wholeness, the things will trigger you lesser and lesser. So if I had not healed my shadows, if my son told me you're judgmental, I'll be like, how can you call me judgmental? I'm such a nice person. My whole life I have been such a nice person and you call me judgmental. So it's a shadow, it's a blind spot. But when you say, yeah, okay, I am like that, it's an acceptance of who you are in the moment without becoming someone bigger or better or greater. Accepting yourself the way you are is also a path to becoming whole, to becoming at peace. Yeah. Okay. Now, just a little glimpse I'm going to give you about what are shadow thoughts and what are light thoughts before we go in. This is the only slide that I really have on shadow introduction for you. So shadow mastery comes from the lineage of Carl Jung, where he had some archetypes, which he played out, which is basically a collection of human behavior. So you put a few behavior together, oh, don't act like such a queen. Or you put some behaviors together, you like, don't be such a joker all the time. Or you put some other behaviors together and say, always victim mentality. So we don't have to explain it, right, what that means. So say you are the king or the queen of your own kingdom. When you wake up, there are two councils that you have. So imagine you're in a courtroom and you are the king and there's one council of black clothed tall caps people and there's one council of white clothed tall cap people. This is just to make it dramatic. They don't really exist, but just to keep it in your mind. So when you wake up and there's a problem, right? So the shadow council, the black council is telling you, be safe. Don't believe in all this, new age thinking. Be safe, do things the way we have always done. Be logical, be practical, be responsible. Don't create too much trouble. Don't rock the boat. What is there, just hold on to that. Don't trust anyone. It's not really the right thing to do. Anybody can betray us. So all the thoughts, patterns, illusions, ideas that you have that keep you small, safe, emotionally weak, and fearful is your shadow council. Now, it's not that they don't have any job, because if they were not there, you would just take off on anything. So a certain sprinkling of discretion is essential. But we have given them center stage in our life, which is why we are seeing an increase of mental anguish, misery, and weakness and trouble. Yeah. But there's another part which is saying, hey, come on, let's be optimistic here. Let's have some hope. Let's follow our heart. Let's take this leap of faith. This is the chance we have been waiting for. It was a great thing you got fired. Finally, you can go and live the life of your dreams. Or it's a good thing that that person broke up with you. Finally, you are going to go and meet the person who is meant for you. Or just trust people. It's okay. The only way for us is to trust. They may not, keep up to your expectation, but it's okay. All those thoughts which help you to grow as a person, to take that leap of faith, to live a more larger life, more intuitive, where you are seeing more synchronicities in the world. There is a kind of life, and I'm sure all of us have coaches have experienced it, that as you are walking, you feel like the universe is working for you. And something or the other is going right along this path, and that is your light counsel. So all of those thoughts which give you lightness in your life is your light counsel. All the thoughts which make you feel very grave, very serious, very heavy, very dull and dark are your shadow thoughts. So this is just an awareness. Now, whichever one you give Zada importance to, they will rule your life. It's like ruling party. So who are you going to give the power in your life? You have to decide who's going to be ruling party, shadow or light. Yeah. Now let's start looking. So shadows are basically broken up into many archetypes, but I'm going to just take 4. So there are 4 shadow archetypes and their corresponding light archetypes. Yeah. So when you are a parent who is in the prostitute archetype, so there is a website called shadowmastery.ignitethespark.in. Vidya, if you could type that into the chat box, there it has a quiz at the bottom right. There is a quiz which has 40 questions. If you go and answer those 40 questions, it will tell you what is your dominant shadow archetype. Yeah.
Can
So
you tell me the name again?
Shadow
What's the
Mastery,
name?
shadowmastery.ignitethespark.in. Yeah. So you can do that at some point. But if you show up as the prostitute archetype is basically somebody who believes that I want to be liked by people. I can't afford to have people not like me. I need to be safe. And if I have to be safe, I have to sell out. Sell out on what? Sell out on my dreams, my values, my aspirations, and my truth, just so that other people will like me. If I go and say tomorrow I'm going to be a world leader, people are going to laugh at me. They may think I'm not right for the family or whatever. So the core belief of the prostitute archetype as a parent is I must sell out to be safe. If you have this archetype, what your actions will be in your parenting, and these are just a few, okay? I've not named all of them, just a few I've given you. If you have the prostitute archetype, you will over accommodate your child because you don't want your child to disapprove of you. Mama, I want to go for a movie. Okay, beta. Mama, I want to go for a sleepover. Okay, darling. Mama, I have an exam tomorrow, but I want to watch a movie. Okay. But study properly, later. So we over accommodate the child because we don't want disapproval. And we are using achievement and money. We are, going to work the whole day and we don't have time, but then we are throwing really big parties, taking them to big holidays as a proxy to love. So we are overcompensating, because we can't do some things, we are overcompensating on the others. Now, what is the impact on the child when this happens? The child is internalizing that if I love somebody, I have to do things for that person. Being myself is not enough. I have to always do something to show. Or they will grow up very entitled because you have not said no to them. And they will also not be able to set boundaries because you have not modeled setting boundaries for them. You have feared rejection. So you have never rejected your child. Now, when your child grows up, they will also fear that. So they will also not set boundaries in their life. Yeah. So what is the shift you need to make? So as a parent, if you need to make a shift to the lover is the light side of the prostitute. Then you need to go from being a people pleaser to be authentic. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. This is okay. This is not okay. If you want to do this, then step 1, 2, 3, you need to do. Then you can do that. So without being just a pleaser, you are aware that, hey, I'm just being a pleaser here. But the question you ask is, what do I really feel in this situation is right for me as a parent and for my child? So you actually model your truth without fearing your child's rejection. So here you are not scared that, oh, my child will not like me. It's okay, they don't like you. They'll come back to you anyway. But you are able to model that I love you, but what you're asking for is not okay. And maybe if you do this, then we'll definitely look at that. I'll be most happy to give it to you. But whatever your values are, you are able to stand for it. And there's no right or wrong on the values here. It's just that you are aligned with your values and you're able to stand. Okay, any questions on this? I've got 3 more for you, but I just want to check in. and ask you, is that making sense? And I want to ask you, how many of you identify with this archetype? So you can give me a PR in the chat box if you identify with this archetype, if you have done this in the past. No, we will not hold it against you. Okay, thank you, Shanti. Okay, thank you, Sheila, for sharing. Beautiful. We'll wait for the other responses, but let's move ahead to the child archetype. Yeah. Who's the next one? Sheila, and there's Vidya. Okay, thank you, Vidya. Now, when you as a parent are in the child archetype yourself, your core belief is people will not love me, I will not be chosen, right? So I will not be approved of. The prostituted archetype, you want to be liked. In the child archetype, you want to be approved of. So when you are in that shadow, how does that show up as a parent? When your child doesn't listen to you, you will take it personally. You will be wounded. Dekho, I'm not good enough to be a parent. My child is not listening to me only. So instead of really being the parent out there, you're taking it personally. That मेरे में कुछ खामी होगी. That is the reason my child is not listening to me. So you are feeling wounded, and that wound is getting activated every time your child is not listening to you. Has this happened to us? Yeah, can I have a show of hands? Yeah. And in this case, you are making your child a friend rather than being the parent. So you are sharing your emotional problems with the child. You're expecting the child to parent you because you are still in your child. Now, what happens as an impact of this, when we show up in a wounded state in our parenting, is our child is very confused. Am I supposed to be the parent or am I supposed to be the child? And this happened with me because my parents didn't get along very well. And I was always been the role of a mediator. So I was mediating between my mother and father, between my father and my uncle. I was constantly, scanning my environment for potential problems and potential flames which can erupt, and making it my job to go and settle them. Why? Because I wanted more control on my life. Now, I never actually felt like a child at all. I literally felt like I was grown up. I was born grown up. Because ever since I made sense of the world, I was just playing the role of an adult. And even when I was 10, I remember mediating between my father and my uncle. And now when I look back, I was like, mera bachpan kahan gaya, It's just gone because I've just grown up. So the child gets confused. The child may carry emotional burdens which are not meant for them to carry. They're just meant to be kids. But because we have showed up in a wounded state, the child is carrying that burden. And the child is then suppressing their truth to protect the parent. That, oh, my parent is so hurt. If I say my truth, then it'll be worse. So let me just, not say what I'm really feeling, and let me just say whatever my parent wants me to say. So already by showing up in a wounded state, you are disconnecting your child from their own truth. And they don't know then what they really feel because they're not sure what they're supposed to feel. This is the power you have as a parent. So when you want to release this, and when you want to move towards the sovereign archetype, which is the king archetype, which is taking full responsibility for their own life, taking full agency for their own life, then you reparent yourself and you show up as a regulated parent so that your child can be a child. So you learn to parent yourself and regulate yourself as a sovereign, as the king or queen of your life. And that is why your child can also be safe. Now, I want you to put child in the chat box if you have seen this in your life.
Alpa Goldie is also shared.
Yes, go ahead, Goldie. Go ahead. 1 second. Goldie has shared. Soumya. What has my mother turned this archetype after my father passed away? Yeah.
Alpa, if we have
Yes,
space, can I
Manvi,
ask
go
a
ahead.
question?
Yes, please.
I think
So, Alpa, I see a lot of this has happened in my life, although I would say it's in the past. I was myself going through a lot of childhood trauma
I'm going to
and I
switch off
was
my video
healing.
for a minute, guys. I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, please go ahead, Manmeet.
So while I was parenting my kids, I was dealing with my own trauma and I'm at a good place now. I mean, the process still goes on. I'm doing what I can. I'm just curious to know that. So I've been reparenting myself. I have been like doing all that. And
Yeah.
I'm a sorted, healed human being. I like to believe that.
Yeah.
But there's been a damage from the past, right?
Yes.
Which I have apologized. I've had conversations with my children, especially my elder one. So is there something more to it that when you finally discover that you've been this archetype and how can you move towards the other side of the light?
Hmm. So you're asking me, how can you move to the other side of the light?
Well, I would like to believe I've already moved, but is there something more you need to do to undo the damage that has been done?
Yes, yes, Manmeet. There is actually a lot of healing which needs to happen. So you have healed to a large extent. They'll take time. Let's show them the space now first. Just give me a minute. I have some unexpected guests in my study.
Please brought down.
I think others can keep sharing in the chat box whatever experiences you want to share.
Hi guys, sorry, that was unexpected. My friend's sister. So Manmeet, you've been in this field for a long time. You've healed. All of us here, in fact, have been in this field for a long time, and we've healed. But there are some memories which stay with us, which cannot come to the surface until it is sparked. So there are two ways of really, is Manmeet here? Huh? So there are two ways of releasing these experiences from our body. One is when you are meditating. When you're really in deep meditation, these sanskaras are coming up and they are going. And then you're not evaluating what sanskara has gone and what has not, right? The other way is when something triggers you. That actually is like a signpost saying there is a shadow here. So it is just a signpost telling you there is something to be healed here yet. So you can continue on your healing journey. Say, for example, you had a really bad breakup and then you've healed yourself, you've done all the healing processes. But actually, you will not complete your healing cycle until you get into a relationship again. Because that is when your wounds will get triggered. Then you will come to know, oh, am I trusting people or not? Am I scared of commitment or not? There is no way to know that until you face that. So the journey of shadow mastery is understanding when those triggers come up and being able to process it to release it from your system without taking it personally the second time around. So this process will tell you whether it's triggered or not. So the way we do it is we actually go willingly into different areas of our life to see what is alive out there and we work with it to release it. So that is the conscious way of releasing it. The unconscious way, of course, is through meditation and healing, chakra. There are so many types of healing these days and they all work. So shadow mastery is just a conscious way of doing it. But that's a very good question. Thank you for asking that. Yes, Sriram. Yes, Nitya, it can definitely be a mix of archetypes. Yes.
So my question, I think, kind of takes off from Nitya's. So one is I could be a mixture of archetypes, which you're confirming.
Yes.
And I'm also wondering whether my inner state at any point in time ends up determining what archetype I fit into at some point in time. Is it that way?
Your inner state determines what archetype?
I kind of exhibit at some specific trigger.
Yes, yes. That is the sign which tells you that what is the pattern which is dominant. The other way also is this quiz that I told you. If you go and do it, it has a list of questions. If you answer it honestly, it will give you a fair idea of what could be possible. Now, it's not, you may have more than one dominant archetype. Usually, there are all these archetypes which are playing, all the shadow archetypes. There's never just one cockroach in the kitchen. Agar ek hai, to aur hai, you know. So it's just in that moment, something could have been triggered. Maybe your child was wounded, maybe your prostitute was wounded, maybe your victim was activated. So even though something may be a dominant archetype for you, in a particular situation, the root could have been something else. And that is the process we learn to understand what is the root. And we understand what is the root, not to understand it for the sake of understanding it, but to release it. So the idea is to release it, not to conceptually understand.
So what you're suggesting, or what you're saying is that only if I'm able to understand will I be able to release it consciously.
Through this process, it is the way, Sriram, because we're not meditating. It is not an unconscious release, right? There are some releases we have, which is like the Guru's grace. When you have that in your life, through a stroke of luck, a gift from the universe, a lot of release happens. However, when we are doing this process is a combination of an art and a science. So this prostitute archetype, the way to kill it is to the lover archetype. The child archetype, the way to overcome it, release it, is through the sovereign archetype. But you cannot use the sovereign archetype to release your prostitute archetype because they are two sides of the same coin. Therefore, yeah. But very deep and interesting questions in this group. Thank you. I love answering them. Yes, Goldie.
So obviously we're here to understand our own parenting archetypes, but I want to know whether there's a lot of impact that we receive as children ourselves that we are able to observe in becoming a parent. And why do I say this? Because as a parent, I've evolved obviously by doing the inner work and been very conscious about my own growth. But I've also noticed that my parenting has improved, I want to say, by me observing the parent I have had. So my mother and my mother-in-law, I've lived with my mother till I got married, but I've lived with my mother-in-law for 20 years after that. And I think both these women have exhibited more than once the child archetype on me. And that's just so interesting because they are triggers for me, but that's my work to do, not theirs. That's their journey is their own. But I want to ask if that is possible. So there's sort of like a compounding effect from both your children and your own parents.
The answer is 100%. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It, in fact, has a very large influence on how we show up as a parent, is how we perceive our parents. So that's why I said the generational trauma goes on and on until you break it. So yes, the answer is very much yes. Yeah. Thank you. That was interesting. And I saw your answers in the chat box. Let's move to the victim. When you are a parent in the victim archetype, your core belief, core fear is fearless, is helpless, is powerlessness and helplessness. कि ओ मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ, मैं क्या कर सकती हूँ. What do you do when you are in the victim archetype? You're always wondering, why is this happening to me? I'm so tired. Why do I have to do all this? Why does it come on me only? Why can't people really support me? Thing to be noted here is you have not asked for support. You are just expecting people to read your mind and to support you. That is the difference. Yeah. So you're making your child responsible for your state. Because of you, I left my work. Because of you, I did not buy that big car. I had to give all that money into your fees. I did not do what I wanted. I did not take the risk I wanted with my career because I had to provide for you, and you blame your child for you become the martyr and you blame your child for your state. That is when you are being the victim parent archetype. How does that impact your children? your children start feeling, oh God, I should not feel what I'm feeling. Even if they are feeling normal emotions, no, they'll feel bad. They'll feel like it's a mistake because you are so burdened. You know, they say when you talk to your child rudely, the child doesn't hate you, the child hates themselves. So when you are blaming your child so much, even if it is not your child's fault, the child is absorbing all the blame. And eventually, when they grow up, they will either become people pleasers or they'll become rebels. They'll either follow your footsteps only and become the martyr, or they will say, go to hell, I'm not doing anything for anybody. I've had enough of this shit growing up. So either of these two places they will go, but they will not be able to have healthy boundaries in relationships because they've not seen it from you, right? If you want to get over this victim thing, you have to go from blame towards ownership. This is my shit, like Goldie said so beautifully, you know, it's my thing to deal with, it's not theirs. So going to ownership of dealing with your life and modeling resilience and taking emotional accountability for how you are feeling. If you are quitting or not doing things that you want because of your child, that's on you. Your child has not said you have to do this for me. Very likely after 20 years, they're going to grow up and say, but why did you do that? I never asked you to do it. But you are doing it. It's your responsibility and it's your accountability. So again, in the chat box, if you have experienced or been the victim archetype at some point in your life, go ahead and put victim archetype. Just put victim in the chat box too. Yeah. Vidya and Soumya, thank you for sharing. Yes, Roshni?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask. So you
Yes.
said that it is either a people pleaser or a rebel.
Yes.
Can it be also a combination?
Can it be a
Combination, like you switch
Yeah, of
between
course.
people.
In fact, that happens most classically. Like when I grew up victim. Okay, so, and my mom always, you know, made. I felt that I was the cause of all her problems in her life. She never told me that, but I felt it. So when I grew up, I would give, because I would bend over backwards, let people screw me over, and one day my volcano would burst, and I was like, now, so you go to hell. Now, that won't give you anything. So there was no balance in my life. It's either extreme people pleasing or it's just extreme, go to hell type of attitude. So I used to tease, or I think in my early journey, I realized I was either Smita Patil or I was Jhansi Ki Rani. Beech mein kuch tha hi nahi. So if I was showing up in a relationship, either I was being all giving or I was like, go to hell, I'm not giving anything. So there was no negotiation, no boundary setting. It's very difficult to be in a relationship with a person like that. Yeah. So that's what typically happens actually. In Gujarati, there is a saying. It's a very sexist saying. It should not be existing. But in the olden days, it existed. So it said this person, the saying says, agar so and so de to dikra de, natar dikri bhi pachi le le. It means that if this person gives, he will give away all the sons or he will even take back the daughters. Underlying belief saying that sons are better than daughters, which is not true. But this is the idea that either you just give everything or you say, now go to hell, you don't get anything. So just to give you the patriarchal idea that people had anyway. Yeah, so that happens. So thank you for asking that. Okay, so a lot of victims I see, that's cool. Let's move to saboteurs. And Mr. I feel I've been, yes, Tejaswini, that very much happens. So
Alpa, there are some comments if
I
you
read
want
them.
me to read it.
I read them.
Okay, good.
Okay, so saboteur. So when you are in your saboteur archetype, your core belief is, what if I get very successful? What if I lose my success? And what if I have too much to do and I am not able to manage it? Now, if you are in this constant cerebral, this is a very cerebral archetype. You know, it's always in the head, always examining, deliberating, and that kind of thing. How will you show up for your children? You show up for your children, you're undermining your own rules. You'll be strict one day. And one day you'll say, it's okay, do what you do. So this person is also very paranoid, overthinking a lot, very overprotective, wants to always protect their child or protect or control the situation, you know, very control oriented, that if I don't do this, they will do this. So this has to be controlled, that has to be very controlling. and he or she wants to be the perfect parent. So they take that job very seriously. There's a lot of heaviness around being a parent. Everything is about being a parent. It has to be like proper and perfect. Their children have to behave perfectly when you go to a restaurant. They should not be shouting. They should not be going to the next table and sitting down. They should not do anything like that. Everything is a reflection of them. So if children are being unruly, it reflects on them. So a lot of control, paranoia, overprotectiveness that you bring to your parenting when you are in the saboteur archetype. But when it gets very tough, you also say, "Go to hell now. I can't do anything more. I've done too much in my life." You have done too much because you wanted to control too much. But still, there be your quitting thing. So that is the actions you take as a saboteur parent. What is the impact that it has on your child? Your child is wondering, do I have to behave myself? Or is it okay? And this anxiety that you have also rubs off on your child because they're sensing the vibe. They're just not seeing what you are saying, but they are walking around you on eggshells because they never know what they will say will set you off. So they're very, very careful around you. They're very anxious because it's very unpredictable. Some days are very good and some days are just horrible. And they'll never know what they did right or wrong because it's all a game you are playing in your own head, which your child has no clue about. But the child absorbs anxiousness and unpredictability. Yeah. And if you want to come out of this archetype of being a saboteur, the shift is to the magician. The magician is when there is trust, when there is faith that I'm doing what I have to do. It's not fear-based, it's not control-based, but you trust that your child will take the right decision. You trust that you are doing a good job as a parent. You trust that it will turn out okay and the worst will not happen. You're fearing the worst, but it will not happen. There is a trust. And if you are feeling very uncomfortable, you are able to process it at your end without letting it spill over on your child. So that is learning to hold the space for your own discomfort without making everybody around you uncomfortable. That is the saboteur archetype playing up. So if that's something that you have done in your life, go ahead and put saboteur. I'm not done yet. I'm still going back, but I've just stopped for a minute to see if there's any questions, to see how these 4 archetypes felt for you. And we'll go a little bit into the process also of understanding how to be a conscious parent. But just wanted to see if there was any observations or questions that you had here. Was that insightful for you? Is that something you heard before? I made it today morning also. So not that I don't think there's any book on it or anything like that, which speaks about this. So literally it was just experience. Thank you. Thank you for all of that. Yes, Roshni, go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, so when you realize your archetype, right? And you want to make a change as a parent, at what age for a child, as a parent, when I'm shifting, does it actually be impactful? What if my child is already grown? Does it still, is it still useful if I'm changing that to the child? Or I
That's
just
a
wanted to
beautiful
know.
question. Very beautiful question. I'm working with many people who have adult children. And believe you me, when your children become adults, your relationship with them is even more important. Because that really is that transition, that should I treat him like an adult or should I treat him like a child? And that is a big one. So it's even more important. And the best time to do it is today. Sorry, the best time to do it was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. So whenever you start, finally, no matter when you start, Roshni, that generational trauma cycle breaks. And even though you have been a result of your parents' behavior and your child is a result of your behavior, the way you have shown up, nothing says that we have to continue to be like that. So as you do the work on yourself, you not only heal yourself, you actually heal the relationship with your parents as well as with your children. Ever since I have done this work, I had immense drama in my relationship with my mother. That's just gone. I had so much drama around relationship with my kids. I felt every day I was on the battlefield because I'm, fighting some war or the other with someone. If one place is quiet the other one is ablaze. Until I realized my attachment to the drama. And then when I stepped back from the drama released from everywhere. So now my mother and me actually have a nice relationship, and I'm able to laugh with her about her, some stuff, and accept her for who she is without expecting her to change to fit into my criteria. And I was also able to also release that blame of she did what she could best. So that aspect of healing heals many generations. So whenever you do this work, it's precious. So please do it. Thank you for asking that. Yes, Soumya.
Yeah, Alpa, that's very interesting, and thank you for the whole presentation that you've done. I had a question is, we are all work in progress. So although we have understood many patterns that we are kind of deleting and diluting it, how can we understand what archetype is still remaining, where it's somewhere like transaction analysis, where you get into the adult to adult stage, right? So what are the things unconsciously that is still there, which needs to be worked on, choosing these archetypes?
Very beautiful question. One way is to do the quiz. That will give you an idea of what is a dominant archetype still for you right now. The other way is when we do the Shadow Mastery program, it's a kind of reflective program which proactively goes into a little bit into the past of what has happened and what is alive for you and brings it to the surface. Now, this journey is a little challenging. It's not easy. It's not comfortable. It brings up a lot. But when you do it, when you have support, it allows you to process and heal it. So if I am doing shadow work also, I do it with someone because it's very choppy, and we have enough uncertainty in the world to put ourselves in that space knowingly, right? So in a container, it's like a havan. When you have that closed container, it's easy to release it. But if you just kind of spray it out, it's very unpredictable to do it. So, but there is a way to do it. There is a process to do it, and it's uncomfortable, but worth it, in my opinion.
I agree. Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go a little bit into Shefali Sabari's work. I love her work as a parent, or at least I love her books. So I love Awakened Family and Radical Awakening. Amazing book. So Awakened Family is about, of course, parenting and all of that. And Radical Awakening is for women. And I've gifted at least 50 copies of that book. It is really a lovely book. So definitely pick it up if you want to read a little bit more about that. Until I write a printing book sometime. I don't know if I will. But still, my next book will be on shadow work for sure. So I'm sorry, I've made a mistake in her name. Last minute addition. So when a child has to always, sometimes we create codependency in our child. So we are doing so much for the child that we are getting our own self-worth from how much we are doing for the child. And because you're doing so much for the child, your child is checking with you that are they doing okay, and they lose touch with themselves because they have to always check with you is it okay to feel how they are feeling. So in your desire to be this overarching presence and influence in your child's life, you actually compromise their connection with themselves. So my approach is you strengthen your connection with yourself, and that will help your child strengthen his or her connection with themselves. And I really believe that once you have children, it changes something in you for good. You can never go back to being the way you were before you had children. Never go back to that way you were before. And this whole journey of parenting, whether you like it or not, I'm 100% sure is transformative for every single parent in some way or the other. For some more than others. But you are called on, if you want to be a good parent, to relook at your whole belief system. What is right? What is wrong? You may feel a way about the world, but when you have a child who's dependent on you, who comes in, you have to relook at everything. Is capitalism really good? Should I really be wasting fuel? What will I leave for my children? Everything just changes. Your whole perspective changes. So it calls on you to do some work on yourself as well. Okay, now, interesting thing we are going to do. We're going to do a process. Are we okay with the process? Yes? Okay, so I'm going to not share the screen here. I'm going to tell you the process because I don't want you to see the answer question. Sorry. This AI thing is coming in the middle. I can't let you. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so first question. Do you all have a pen and a paper? Yeah? Just get it. If you all don't have a pen and paper, just get it, no? Quickly. Just get a pen and a paper. That's it. Yeah. So I'm inviting you to really take 3 minutes. I'm putting a timer for 3 minutes and think about what is the kind of relationship you want to have with your child. And if you don't have a child, then write it for your inner child. But if you have a child, write it for your child. So just think of the most beautiful canvas you can think of, that what kind of relationship would you like? So I'm going to start the counter now. Describe it. And is it like warm, trusting, playful, like Manmeet was sharing? Just go ahead. What does it look like? Rahul, that's a good question. So internal family system also deals with parts. It deals with parts of us which we have not addressed and which parts in us are asking for completion or are running the show at that point of time. And that is a way of doing it as well, even if it is family constellation or internal family systems. They all have a role to play. I feel the only choice you have is to decide what way you want to work on yourself. But whatever way you choose, you should do it fully. I feel a little bit of dabbling here, a little bit of dabbling there doesn't really lead to actual change. So say if you are dealing with shadow work, then do it fully. If you're doing internal family systems, then do it fully. That depth that you bring will create the change. So don't try to apply too many things to the same thing. That gives a very poor tasting khichdi experience. It's not a good tasting khichdi. It just brings too much together and it just muddles it up. So whatever you're doing, do it. I've done different modalities, but keep it simple. This work, our mind is complicated enough anyway. Then you bring in that thing of, okay, now which concept do I use? Which tool do I use? It just complicates it. And at some point you'll give up and say, okay, now nothing is working for me. But whatever you do, do it fully. That's my point of view. Okay, anybody who's done with their, I see a lot of people stopped writing. Okay, great. So let's go to the next question for those who are done. I want you to reflect and write, what is the emotional energy or pattern that you are bringing into your relationship with your child? So you can take from prostitute, victim, child, saboteur, or you can also say maybe I'm blaming too much, or I need to be in control, or I'm scared that I'll fail, or I'm scared that they will fail, or I always have a need to be right. As a parent, you're always right, or I am just avoiding emotional intimacy because I just can't deal with it. So what is the pattern that you are bringing to your relationship with your child? Just reflect on that as honestly as you can and write that down.
Alpa, are we writing only the negative energies that we bring?
No, you can write whatever energies, positive and negative. So our idea here is to become aware of what is not working and, change that. But the positive energies are a great source of strength and resourcefulness for us, because we may be doing a few things wrong, but we surely are doing many things right too. So you can definitely include the positive aspects you're getting as well. So you're bringing in kindness, you're bringing in fun, you're bringing in openness, or you're bringing in celebration. But definitely list the negative patterns as well. Those are difficult to address also, and difficult to accept also. And now, if you are done with that one, I'm going to take you through a chota sa 2-minute closed eye exercise. Are we okay with that? Would we be open to that? Yeah? Okay. Lovely. So let's all just close our eyes for a minute. And just allow ourselves to become aware of our body. And mentally just go over all that we learned and we heard in the last hour. Becoming aware of what we want our relationship with our child to be like. Also becoming aware of what are the patterns that we are bringing into this relationship as a parent. I'm inviting you to ask yourself that if I wanted to be a more conscious, a more aware, and a more present parent, what are 2 small doable actions I can take today to be closer to the relationship I want to have with my child? Maybe it could be a verbal shift. Maybe it could be an emotional habit. Maybe it could be a ritual that you implement. Maybe it could be to hug more or something physical. What are 2 small actions that you want to take today to come a little closer to being a conscious parent? Just listen to the answers coming up from within you. And as you see yourself taking these 2 actions, I want you to visualize the impact it is having on your relationship with your child. See the laughter, the trust, the openness, the lightness coming in to that space and filling it with light. From this space, allow this feeling to anchor in every cell of your body. As you resolve to be more present in your parenting. And whenever you feel complete, you may open your eyes. And I invite you to share, each of you, in the comments box, what are those 2 steps that you're going to take today to be a more conscious parent? Waiting your answers. Now I can share it on the screen for you. If you want, you can take a screenshot so you can journal it in more detail in the night. Okay. Lovely. Be more playful, allow my children to be children, pause, breathe, center, more presence, less suggestions. Very nice, beautiful. Embarked on a shared project with each of my boys, focus more on fun, very nice, less on routine. Lovely. Lovely. Just let them be. Yes, yes, yes. Lovely. And it is really more about conscious parenting and not perfect parenting. Do I have your permission to share 2-3 minutes about the Shadow Mastery program? Would you all be keen to hear about it? And then I will take time to share it. If you're okay with it, please give me a yes in the comments so I know that I'm honoring your time and mine. Beautiful. So it's a very simple thing, really. It's an 8-week program where we go deeper into shadows, because shadows, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't really impact. I'll just read your answers first. Okay, thank you so much. I'm so happy to see that. Be more playful and be more predictable. Beautiful. Tone more present, be silly, not seek validation from my children. Very, very nice, man. Beautiful. Wonderful. So shadows really, they run all parts of our life and we don't realize it. And I truly, really feel that we may be successful in all areas of our life, but if we are not successful at parenting, it is the biggest hit. And if we are successful at parenting, I feel it is the most fulfilling experience. So it is like a tipping point. You know, I have worked with leaders who are very, very successful, and then they have 16-year-old children who are into drugs and they feel like failures. And no amount of success can give them that joy as much as the pain of having your child go through something like that. So that pain of not doing it right and the pleasure of doing it right are both extreme. So parenting is really a very beautiful place for us when these parent and child come together, and that transformation has a huge impact to allow us to be fulfilled in our life. You know, so that's why I enjoyed this session so much, because it's very close to our heart. You know, we may be numb or we may be apathetic to most things in life, but we can never be that for our children. They will always have center space for us. And that is the relationship we really wanted to flower and grow and thrive and give us that closeness, trust, joy, and love in our life. Yeah. So in this 8-week program that we do, it is not a parenting focused program. It is a you focused program. You as an individual, parenting is a part of it, very much a part of it. But you cannot you can't do spot reduction when you lose weight. You can't do spot reduction with shadows also. A shadow in one place is a shadow everywhere. And a shadow removed from one place also gets removed from everywhere, because we are all finally one energetic channel. So this program is a group program. It's normally done with 10 people who come together. I think we already have 7 people on the group. So I do it 3-4 times a year. And the last 5 years, I have been running this program now. It's not conceptual. It is not about understanding shadows. It is about actually doing the work. So the way it works is there's a video, 1-hour video, which you get access to. You watch it at your own time. There's a workbook, 15-20 pages. So you reflect on your own life, write the answers, email that workbook to me. I give one-on-one feedback to every single participant. So we really go deep into that. Then we have a 2-hour live session where we do question and answers, embodiment practices, nuances of that particular module. So there's an intro module, then there's prostitute, lover, child, sovereign, victim, warrior, saboteur, magician, next 4. Then we learn a process called shadow alchemy. So alchemy is a process where when you get triggered, what can you do to understand where it's coming from and actually then do a process where you can release it from your emotional body viscerally through your physical body. So basically, all this content, emotional content, which is there in our body, when it gathers over a period of time, it leads to illnesses, it leads to pains, aches. A lot of that is actually emotional weight. It is the weight of the beliefs we have not processed, the pains we have not processed, the grudges we hold, the hurt we hold, the rejection we face. So shadow mastery really helps you to release that. And as you release it, you realize that a whole new burst of energy comes into your life, because energy cannot be created or destroyed. But these pockets of energy, which unconsciously are holding space in our life and living rent free, we're able to empty those out. And as you empty those out, then the abundance which you really seek is able to come in, because your channel is no longer blocked. So what happens with shadow mastery is, if you do a course which helps you to get better business or better relationships, and it's a linear path. But when we do shadow mastery, it's a very quantum path, because you are actually doing this deep work, which is a combination of meditation and very deep emotional work together. And that abundance which you want, you are just suddenly able to open yourself to a new field of possibilities. Because the vibe at which you are vibing at, the vibration at which you are, the frequency at which you are vibrating at just goes up as you release all this. And you are not waiting for somebody else to give you closure, or for somebody else to improve, or for somebody else to treat you better. You are just working on yourself. And then I have seen people unlock a lot more abundance in their work. My own business, I did shadow mastery for my relationships. My relationships were a mess. My business just took off. People just found me. Like even this program, if Vidya tells you how it happened, we were surprised. It was very non-conventional for me to write something, for her to see that group. She never sees it. And we got connected. I had not seen her, actually before the session. But things just fall in place. And it is the least resistant way to abundance. It's not a hustle-filled way, like, we have to try. It's just really releasing and allowing ourselves to receive. Because I feel as human beings, we are very good at doing, but we are not very good at just being and allowing ourselves to now finally receive after all these years of doing. So it's an 8-week program. We do this module, workbook, feedback, live session, 6, 7, 8 times. And then there's practice and there's Q&A. You're part of a larger community. And there are also 2 one-on-one sessions with me, because shadow work is very deep and some things don't come up in a group and you want to discuss it personally. So we do that as well. So it's really a very cathartic experience, if I may say so. So we start on 13th of June. The first call is on 20th of June. And on the same website where you go to do the quiz also has a link to book a call with me. So you can do the quiz on the bottom half. You can do the quiz on the bottom half, and on the top, there is a book a call link. So you can actually just use that link and book a call to just understand if it is the right thing for you or not. So I welcome you if you would like to have a conversation and you would like to take it deeper. I would love to answer any questions you may have and just have a conversation, because shadow work cannot be forced and I don't do that. But if you are ready for it, if it resonates with you, if it vibes with you, then let's have a conversation. If you are ready for it, the group is very highly curated. So it is really people who are serious about this work who come together. There are no riffraffs. Very senior people are there in the group. Very evolved people are there in the group, because nobody else can really do this work. And we keep it like that. We keep it really sacred, this space. And I would love to invite any of you who would like to experience it to come in. And any questions you may have, open for that too. Roshni, Vidya, would you like to take over or say something?
It was a very, very insightful session, Alpa. I had a question regarding the Shadow Mastery
Sure.
class that you were talking. What if people have already worked through therapy or other ways, right? On their shadows. I mean, not in the same context, but have already worked to some extent.
Yeah.
How does that play out then now when we are doing the shadow mastery?
I think all of us here have definitely done work on ourselves. There will be nobody in this group who has not done work on themselves. And I never recommend shadow mastery for those who are beginners. In fact, I have another program called the Transformation Blueprint, which I suggest for people who are starting out, which is actually based on the book. And it's an 8-week program again. And we talk about mastering our emotions, rewriting our stories, discovering our natural gifts and talents, our life purpose, and a little bit introduction to shadows. But shadow mastery is actually meant for people who are on the path, who have done therapy, who are attuned a little bit and aware of their own ability to create their lives. So if you have done other work, it's perfectly all right. There will always be something more that it will add to you, and it will find some aspect which you have not touched so far, because it's pretty deep and it's pretty thorough. So you will hit a point where you'll be like, oh my God, I did not know that still existed. So that will come up for sure. That's been my experience, at least, with the kind of people who have done the program. Thank you. Yes, Manmeet?
I also feel, Alpa,
Yes,
I
Rita.
also feel, Alpa, that we'll be in for a lot of surprises when we do the course.
Pardon? You'll come across a lot of surprises in
We'll
the...
we'll come across a lot of surprises when we do the course. Is what
Not
I
all
feel.
of them will be pleasant. There will be some unpleasant ones.
Exactly.
But at the end of it,
Yeah.
I believe that they all convert into very good news. So, but you have to have little patience for that. But it happens. That much I can tell you. And if you
Yeah.
just go to the website, you'll see there are like the amount of testimonials I get for this program are too many that I cannot even put them on the website. There are literally so many of them. So people have really had deep, hugely transformative experiences, and you'll get a glimpse of it on the thing as well. It will end around Miss August. Yes, all the sessions are recorded, Goldie, and they are put on a drive. So if you miss a session, it's completely all right. You should ideally not miss the alchemy session, but even if you miss that, we can always do that one-on-one. So it's not a problem. It is a weekly session, Friday 2:30 to 4:30 India time is normally when we have that program. And I have the schedule also. Vidya, actually, I don't know if you have my number. Vidya, can you share my number with them? Do they have it? Can they reach out?
Yes.
I will share it in the chat box itself.
Okay, great. So you can do that. Yes, Manmeet.
First of all, thank you so much for your presence, for all the insight, for all the love and affection you bring into the session. My question is something somewhat of personal, but I believe it'll benefit others as well. That how do you differentiate between honest sharing with your children, emotional based,
Yes.
and being a child archetype? Like we always believe that let's have a transparent, honest relationship with our children. And you tend to sit man to man, woman to woman, and talk. My daughter is 22, man.
Yeah.
And I want to sit like a woman to woman, and I want to just, I have my own thoughts, but I want to hear it from you. What do you feel about that?
That is such a good question. And I was grappling with this yesterday as we are doing we bought a home and we're doing it up. And it's a beautiful experience, of course, to make a home, but there's always some difference of opinion, right, on whether we should get something or not, or space or whatever. And it is a fine line. So there was something my partner and we were having an argument about, and my son was asking me, so what was that about? And how do you answer it without blaming? So the thumbnail I have is share your experience, but share it as a regulated parent. Don't share it as an unregulated parent who is venting it out and expecting to be taken care of. So I shared, but with a regulation where it did not need him to fix anything, but it still was open that this is what it is, and it will also, sort of set itself out. And that responsibility and accountability of managing it also is mine. And that he knew. So I think share all that you want, but just awareness in the regulation space. And it can also be that you reach a space and you can say, hey, you know what, you're 22 and I really need some girl-to-girl advice right now. Would you be open to that? So putting that upfront and allowing her to say, I need some help here, so that she's able to wear that role for that short period of time, have that conversation with you, and then go back to being your daughter. That's also okay as they grow, Yes, Goldie. I hope
Thank
that
you so
answers
much,
your
Alpa.
question.
I think children come with so much of wisdom.
Yes.
When you share with them, they really come up with such beautiful answers.
Yes.
I think ownership is what, and intention is what I'm going to take with me.
Beautiful. Thank you for asking that. That was a very beautiful question, Manmeet. Thank you. Yes, Goldie.
I just want to answer Manmeet because I felt that I could resonate with what you said. Literally yesterday, this happened with my own daughter, and she asked me a very ordinary question. She said, "Can you see the spot on my face, like it was a pimple or something?" And I have this tendency to just not overthink on what she looks like on her face because my policy is I don't want you to overthink on how you look. You look great as it is if you're good, inside out. And she actually said, I don't want you to be a parent who's enhancing my positive traits right now. I want you to just be brutally honest with me. So I should know if I need to wear concealer. And I thought that was fantastic because she put me in my place and she's like, I love what you do, but right now I just want you to be very honest and say it for how it is.
That's
So I feel like
I
as a
love that.
yeah, I think as a parent, if we look at our friends, we know who we need to reach out for when we want like a listening ear. We know which friend is like going to give you that advice you want. And we also know that friend who just doesn't give a shit, but they're there for you either way for other things, right? So I think if you know your kids really well, you know what they're going to be ready to listen to when you want them to listen to. And if you know that's just not their cup of tea, then I wouldn't go to them.
Yeah.
I actually really like what you said, Goldie. I think what's coming to mind for me is earlier when Alpa asked us to reflect on kind of the relationship you want with your kids. What came to mind for me is almost like I want to be able to relate with them in several different roles, depending on the moment and what's most appropriate. And I want to be able to choose the role depending on what I feel is most valuable. But I also want, like in this example, them to be able to choose, hey, I would like you to play this role in this interaction. So thank you for sharing that. It was a very powerful.
Yeah, I hear that so many times from my kids. Like, I don't want you to be the co-chair. Like, can you just be? So yeah, I mean, it's also disarming for us. Like Alpa was saying that we put like so much of pressure as coaches that we have to be this now evolved parent, and it's perfectly all right to be making those silly mistakes from time to time. So thanks everyone. Thanks Alpa.
Yeah, it's very true. In fact, my kids tease me. They've heard me in quite a few shadow mastery sessions, webinars. So whenever they want to tease me, they tell me, do you want to be the cause in your life? Or do you want to be the effect in your life? And they have a big joke about it. And now it's become a joke for all of us. The minute I start giving them some gyan, they'll be like, do you want to be the cause in your life? Or do you want to be the effect in your life? And then I laugh and I say, okay, you cannot coach your children. Just have fun and it'll figure. So yeah. And my daughter though doesn't ask also. If she sees me, she's like, not looking good. Looking very nice. So she has an opinion on everything, but she will just keep on passing it as if she's the mother. So I just have fun with her and appreciate both of them. They are both so different. And if you have two children, you know that they will always be completely opposite of each other. So just enjoy them for who they are, I think. So, but thank you. This has been a very intimate and a very beautiful session. I've loved every question, every experience sharing, the energy which all of you brought. And I'm so, so happy to have spent this time with you. Vidya, huge thank you to you and to Roshni for hosting this, for nurturing this group, and for making this possible. I think we all came a little closer to each other and to who we really want to be today.
Thank you. Thank you, Alpa, for bringing this session to us. Absolutely grateful. And like you said, it's such a beautiful group that we had today.
Very
Wonderful question.
Privilege that we had, privilege that you came, and it just happened. I mean, I still remember the day when I saw your message, and it was just the universe had wanted this to happen, kind of a thing, you know.
I think
So
so.
I
I
just
had
saw the
actually
message and we got in touch.
I had given this date to my own team to do a webinar, and I forgot that I had given you that date. So when she got back, I said, no, we can't do that. I've already given that date. So now we're doing that webinar next week on we're doing it on love shouldn't hurt and how to recognize if the love is toxic. So we're doing that, but that's next week. So this, I totally honor this community. I think it's a beautiful community, very needed also. I think all of us also have become very lonely as parents now that joint family systems are breaking down. We're dealing with our own challenges and not really speaking about it so much, and not as openly as we are if people are living with us. So I think this kind of support is really good to have with each other. So thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure. And I look forward to speaking to any of you who would like to explore shadow mastery further. Lots of love. Have a great evening ahead. And I hope to stay in touch.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Alpa.
so
Bye-bye.
much.
Have a
Thank
wonderful
you.
evening, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.